Hi, it's George Nordhausen. Welcome to Monday morning. We are going to have a presentation here by Bart Baker, who, as you know, is one of our favorite presenters. And he's going to be talking today about the 6 breakthrough departments. Now, what the heck could that be about? I mean, I know we have a lot of bigger agencies here. We have smaller agencies who listen to Monday morning. But I think that when I saw this presentation and read his book, The Breakthrough Agency, and I saw you did that, I thought there's a lot of agents who need to get organized better. And so I thought this is just a perfect opportunity. So let me tell you just a little bit about Bart. He is quite a quite a guy, as you know. He runs a wonderful agency over in Malibu, which is not a bad place to be if you have to be someplace. He and his wife started that agency. He was believe it or not, a former fireman, and that's another story. There he is down there with his son. And anyway, he and his wife started it, and he has been so successful with farmers. He's on the president's council there, the top 1% of the agencies in the country for farmers. Say, what are we doing listening to a direct writer? Well, he's got this absolutely is one of the most valid things we could possibly do, because he has his finger on the pulse of what is happening and what agents can do, and he has a wonderful way of saying it. He's a speaker, a trainer, and he does a lot of work for that. So with that having been said, I'll let Bart take it from there. Bart?
Okay, well, thank you, George. And again, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. I am really excited about today's presentation because it really speaks to what the agency needs to become if you haven't achieved it yet, and that's going to be real clear by the time we're done with our presentation today. But what it's saying, George, is that we need to have 6 departments within an agency in order to be successful in the long run. And the reason behind that is really it's just the consumer, is that you have the consumer that on one side of the table is very commodity driven, where they believe that price is the determining factor. The only thing that matters is the bottom line. They're not interested in relationship. And those people are well served by the Geicos and Progressives of the world. And then thank God you have on the other side of the table those customers that want to have a professional relationship with an agency that can handle all of their insurance needs. It's really their, they're looking for their go-to person that they could hold in the same esteem as their attorney, their doctor, their CPA. And the only way that we will be able to fill that definition of being the go-to person is being able to handle all of the products that the customer is looking for. Mm-hmm. So if they call you up and they're looking for a Medicare supplement and you don't do that, then if they go someplace else and that other agency that they contact to get it happens to also handle all of the other things that that customer wants, you're putting yourself really in grave danger, because that other agency could just start poaching the business that you let out the back door because there was one product that you didn't offer. Mm-hmm. Okay, so
story of my life. That's what I've been. Yeah.
I know that's what you've been talking about forever here, George.
Forever, right?
Yeah, forever. So for me, because I started the agency, without any, money to speak of, we've always had to grow organically, just with one department giving rise to the next, once we're able to afford to, constantly reinvest in the business. And you and I did a podcast recently about funding growth. And in that program, we went into detail about how to, afford adding the additional staff. So, we're not going to get into that here, but that is a great resource to refer to on how to, afford to get the other, departments going.
Right.
So when you're first in an agency, you are what I call a phase 1 agency, and the definition of phase 1 is just where you just do everything. There's no specialization taking place. You could either be by yourself or you could have other people working, with you. But if everybody's just going to work and doing the same thing but just more of it, it's really a state of chaos. and this will become clearer in a moment, but specialization is really the key to allowing the agency to position itself so that they could have dramatically more business, be more efficient, and have a better customer experience, and be quite a bit easier, frankly, to to train the staff. And the more you promote that, it's just the faster the business is going to be growing.
Mhm.
So again, this is going to be very clear in a moment. And it breaks down to having 4 phases of your agency, or another way of putting it is that the agency goes through 4 phases. Typically start off at phase 1 and just keep on, moving right across.
Mhm.
So, George, these are the 4 phases, and you can see on the left-hand side there is, chaos.
Been there, done
Now,
that. Yeah, right.
I was just going to say, have you ever seen yourself in chaos
Oh,
there?
you bet. You bet.
Yeah. So chaos is just where all of those little icons in there, they just represent stuff, and it's answering the phone and taking payments and billing and quoting and issuing and just all the things that go on in the agency that are important. They have to be done, and I bet you that any business that I know that you've had quite a few businesses, throughout your career.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter the type of business that you have, but if you just go in and you're just working hard, making sure that everything gets done, and you get to a point where you just can't do anymore, and if you just hire somebody else to come in to help you do stuff, then pretty soon, they've reached their, level of capacity. And I've seen agency, George, it's mind-blowing where they just keep on hiring people to do stuff and nobody is specialized, and that was their solution to trying to keep up with things.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of been there, done that. But so phase 1, chaos, not a very great place to be. You hit a ceiling of complexity incredibly quick. So the next phase then, once you start to figure things out, would be phase 2. I just call it beginning of order, and that is where you, for the first time, you actually have somebody that would be dedicated towards selling, and you have somebody dedicated towards servicing. It sounds incredibly basic, right?
Right.
To do that, but again, you'll find that there's a lot of agencies out there that haven't even taken it to that first step. So the minute that you decide that this is what we're going to do, is divide up the practice into a sales and service sort of definition, you will immediately experience dramatic growth. I mean, I've seen it over and over again. And then set yourself up for a phase 3 agency. Whereas at phase 3 is you have 2 departments now instead of 1. And you could really choose, George, whatever departments you want that to be. I see typically it's a personal lines department and it's a commercial department. But it could easily be, a health insurance and a personal line, whatever it is. But the point is that it starts to become an agency that is specializing, and you are not the jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
Are
And
you with me,
freedom.
George?
Freedom. Then we come to freedom. I like your choice of words there, freedom.
Well, I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all kind of striving for. We all want happiness, and we all want freedom, and we all want time. So in that last book that I wrote, the Breakthrough Insurance Agency, the subtitle was How to Multiply Your Income, Time, and Fun. Because at the end of the day, I really think that that's the byproduct, and we are so incredibly blessed to be in the business that we're in, and to be able to serve our clients and to be able to design and call the shots. That when we do it, like I'm prescribing here, the byproduct really is freedom, because it's freedom of time, because we're not going to be the one that's going to be in it and getting it done. You'll make a lot more money. And as far as I'm concerned, the byproduct of that is fun. It's enjoyment. It's happiness.
Good.
So I don't want to get too esoteric on you here, but by having this this phase 4 agency, what we have here is we have a department that is staffed with a maximizer and a multiplier, And in previous podcasts, we've gone over that well, actually, in a moment here, I'm going to be giving that definition. So we'll leave that for
Let me
the
ask you.
next time.
Let me ask you something
Sure.
on that. Did you make that up, a multiplier and a maximizer? I had never heard it before, and I've used it since that. Does that come from
Yeah.
you, or does that come from somebody? Did you steal that?
No, actually, Stuart, sometimes things just come to me. I'm sure you've had that same experience
Oh,
too.
every day, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
I like
So
that. The multipliers and maximizers. I love this. Well, we'll go into it in a second. I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
no, please. Well, it's just the definition, I think, is so clear that when you get the definition of those positions, the words just kind of stick with you.
Yep.
And so in the freedom stage or phase, we have personal lines, commercial, life health, financial services. So with that, and we're going back then to the direction that the customers are going to, and if they want to have a go-to agency that just handles all of their needs, this core agency is going to be able to do that. So the definitions now that we were talking about for maximizers and multiplier is that a maximizer is somebody that does all the stuff. So when we're looking back at that phase one agency and you just see all of the stuff that's in there, the maximizer is the one that's going to get all of that stuff done. And the reason why the maximizer gets all of that stuff done is to allow the multiplier, which is who they support, to stay in the zone and create income and build relationships. So I've taught this concept to thousands of agents, and I always get the question or a statement, I should say, that Bart, this just sounds like a producer and a CSR that you're just putting on
Sure.
another title to it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to tell you that it is so far from being the truth as far as that statement goes, because if you were to ask a CSR what their job description is, they would say, well, I answer the phone, I take payments. They talk about all the things that they do as far as their job description. Whereas if you were to ask a maximizer, if you go to my office, for example, and ask a maximizer what their job description is, what they'll tell you is, I handle all of the stuff that goes on within my department so that the multiplier that I support can stay in the zone and create income and build relationship.
Good.
So the difference is that it's a mindset. They know what it is that they have to do. And it becomes a symbiotic team, a symbiotic relationship that if you have a dynamite maximizer, then you're going to be able to be an amazing multiplier and vice versa.
Indeed, I like it.
Okay, so what we have going here next then, George, is that, on the phase one, we discussed that everyone is just doing everything. You're just going to work. You're trying to get, things done the best you can.
Right.
And in a phase two, you have defined the relationship as far as the people that are working, where the folks that are creating income and building relationship would be a multiplier. They're in the top there.
Right.
A maximizer would be in the bottom. Mm-hmm. So in this case, in a phase two, specialization has not yet taken place. The multiplier and the maximizer really are just jack of all trades. They could be handling, every line of business, and they're just doing the best they can, however, dramatically better than a phase one. And then a phase three is where you have the departments are starting to materialize, where you actually have somebody that is specializing in personal lines, another person specializing in commercial, and again, each of those departments staffed with a multiplier and a maximizer. And the difference here now is you could really train somebody dramatically easier, because rather than having to train on everything that the agency does, you're only training on a type of product line. So the training is much faster in training both the multiplier and the maximizer. And then just to recap on the phase four, we've just added in the life health and the financial services, so that could be kind of like the catch-all to make sure that we never have the back door open, so that that client has a reason to go anyplace else to get something taken care of, and we could, potentially run the risk of having another agency start to build a relationship with that client, and there they go.
I like your last sentence there. Growth is occurring through referral. I know about your agency, and it's hard to tell people about this, but I know your agency is run by referrals. I mean, that's your marketing program, basically, isn't it?
That's exactly true. So we've always believed, and I have to tell you though, George, is that it does take a little bit of time to get there. I think you have to get, like a critical mass going before you have enough people that you could talk with. But once you do, and you are taking care of all of their needs, and you have a review process, and you and I did do a podcast not too long ago about reviews and how to conduct the reviews and how ours are partly automated at this time. But once you have all of those things going together, it does that. The byproduct are referrals. So we do get referrals every day. We haven't marketed or cold called or done anything like that for years. And we write millions and millions of dollars of new business every single year.
Amazing.
So,
love it.
Okay, so the next question then is that if this does sound like something that our listeners are interested in pursuing, the first step is just to assess where you're at within your agency, so that at least you know where your baseline is. Are you a, phase 1, 2, 3, or 4? Now, really, you can have more than 4 phases. You can continue to become even more refined than phase 4. I mean, technically, you could have 5, 6, and so on. But this, pretty much covers the basis that we have here. So if you were a phase 1 agency and you wanted to be a phase 2, in that case, as long as you have employees, it's just a decision to change the job description.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to show here, though, is that this is where the the goals come in, the vision of the future. Because if you were, for example, a phase 2 and you wanted to be a phase 3, it would require dividing the business so that you have the other department. Typically, you need another person, either a maximizer or a multiplier, and depending upon what you have. And that's where the goal comes in, where you decide within 90 days you're going to hire this particular position, because what the byproduct is of this, and I don't have it in the slide here, George, only because the figures that I have relates to farmers, which is who I'm an agent with. So, and I know a lot of our listeners are with a lot of other companies, but the difference in income between a phase 1 and a phase 2 is about 130%. So you would take almost 1.5 times. You'd be making almost 1.5 times more in a phase 2 than a phase 1. At phase 3, you would more than double the income of a phase 2, and on a phase 4, it's I've seen it be as high as 5 times the income difference of a phase 3. So
wow,
I
got my attention there. Yeah.
I'm telling you. So when I've done the analysis, which I've looked at agencies in Northern California, Southern California, and in Texas, different parts of Texas, looking at all of the agents that comprise a district, every time the analysis is done, it's exactly what happens. The income is so dramatically increased the higher you go on the phase level, that if you want to make more money, you could look at all of these different ways of doing it. But if you could break it down to something that's very, very simple, and you could look at it just like, I'm a phase 2, I want to be a phase 3, and I could double my income in the process, and this is all you have to do. It just makes things simple. And I've always believed that things do not have to be complicated. They can actually be very simplistic, and the result is profound as far as the pocketbook goes.
All right, let's talk about the 6. You suggested we're going to make 6 departments out of our business.
Right, exactly. So there's going to be 6 departments, like you said. And again, this is very basic. I know everybody's aware of these. It's not going to take anybody by surprise, but the personal lines department just has to handle everything. So obviously, it's the the auto, home, and the umbrella, and the jewelry, and earthquake and flood, and just all of those things. And you're going to have a single point of contact, so that relationships can be built and maintained for that. Same concept in commercial. Everything having to do with commercial, and you'll of course use the 3M process that we talked about a little bit, maximizers and multipliers, but you also have that third M, which is measurement, so that you are making sure the agreed upon production is taking place, which we've talked about previously in that podcast. And then you have life and health, and the requirement to do individual and group and Medicare supplements and long-term care is something that it just has to be done. If you leave out even one of those components,
Mm-hmm.
you leave that back door open. So this whole this whole concept here of having these 6 departments is just to nail that back door shut and never let that client have any reason to go anyplace else.
I like that thought. That's well put.
That's a good thought, right?
Mm.
So we have what I call the front office and claims. So in our office, our front office manager also handles claims. So any claims that come in and follow up, things like that. We never give them an 800 number to call, or we just have one person that's going to handle everything. We call it Claim Central. So we've been doing it for years. Does a fantastic job.
Good.
And then towards financial services, do you have your financial services through your insurance agency, or do you go through one of like Goldman Sachs, or how are you doing?
No, it's not through an insurance agency. So I will tell you that. No, it isn't. I have a number of other things, but doesn't touch the agency. I've never been asked.
Yeah. So I hear that same thing a lot of times too. And so when I've seen the agencies that have added financial services and do a good job of it, it's just another way to solidify that relationship and just put some glue in that, so that you have that one-stop shop. So I'm not saying.
Bart, when you talk about, excuse me for interrupting, but the financial services confuses me a bit. You got life and health. What are you talking about in financial services?
So on the financial services, it typically means having a securities license, which isn't for individual stocks, but it'd be like a Series 6 and a 63 that would allow you to sell mutual funds and retirement plans that will participate in the market through mutual funds. There's terrific annuities out there for income replacement. It is just the ability to sell product that is some way tied to the market with mutual funds and other things. So we're not talking about being a Goldman Sachs or doing very high level financial planning. It's more Main Street, George, and there is a huge segment of the population that is not being served because they either have somebody at the bank, perhaps, who I found has never really been very good, or they just don't have enough money to attract, the big guys out there.
Bart, most agents are not doing this. I know that. In fact, this really surprises me, even to hear it. I'm not doubting that you do it and you do it well. Let's think about this as we go forward. Let's do another down the line. Let's talk about this more. I really, it gets my attention. I have never, in all of these years I've been insured, never been asked by any agent at any time about this. Never.
So there you go. So this whole topic today, George, is about the agency of the future, and I believe that the future could be right now. But if we were to look into, let's say, the next 5 or 10 years, what the landscape looks like for a full-service agency, it's my opinion that full-service agency is going to have all of the traditional insurance products but they're also going to have the financial services so that they have the go-to shop that they will be able to refer amongst all the other departments within the agency. But really, more importantly, it's to serve the client so that they have a one-stop shop with the best use of their time, and when they believe that their assets are being protected with very well-trained agents, multipliers within the agency, and their financial services are being addressed. What that will do to retention is going to be incredible, but it will also drive by referral the right type of client so that you're going to grow appropriately. You're going to grow with the right people.
Boy, that's good. I love this. I love that future.
Okay, I know, right? So marketing. We did discuss that, at the moment, we really don't, do much in the way of marketing unless you want to consider our review process that we have. Marketing, I guess, in a sense, you could say it is. But, marketing is something you should always do something with, whether or not it's just reaching out to people that are turning 65 for Medicare supplements, or if you have all the departments set up, just letting your clients know about the others. But marketing is a department, and sometimes you could, share the hat. But it's something that you should always have to have focus on. So here's just a little example of an org chart that just shows, there's a personal line, it's a commercial filled with maximizers and multipliers, and just exactly, what that looks like, so that if you are considering doing this, you could just, plug your name, the other members of your staff into those positions, and just at a glance see, what it is that you need to fill.
Great. I love it.
Okay.
Love it.
And what do we have now? So good people. George, I wanted to spend a second and talk about people, because I've been doing this now for about 30 years. And there's been so many times where I've been presented with two candidates, one being a little more expensive. However, the quality is there, and one being less expensive. And I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, but it's just a recommendation. Whenever you have the choice between two people, hire the better one, and if you have to pay a little bit more in the long run, it's going to just make such a dramatic difference. There's been so many times in my life I wish I would have taken this advice.
Let me ask you one question about that, just for a second.
Sure.
Do you hire people who are, do you hire people who have insurance knowledge, or you hire people and teach them?
The majority of times we hire people and teach them. What I heard one time is that you can't teach nice. And that if you hire, right?
Yeah, that's good.
So if you hire nice people, and they're just great people with good integrity and character, and they're just they're just going to take care of your clients tremendously well and create a good environment, in your agency, I would rather take somebody like that and spend the time to train them, provided it's going to be a long-term relationship. Because whenever I hire anybody, I have the intention that they're going to be with us for life. That this is going to be a career, and there's no reason for them ever to go. So I think it's really all about the person. If they have some experience, great, but it's really not that important. Especially, George, if you use this concept we're talking about with departments, because you're not having to train for so many different lines of business.
Right.
You could just train for personal lines. That's it. So this is where it starts getting fun, because when you have all of those positions taken care of, you really are the conductor of the orchestra, and we have changed our position as far as the owner of just being the visionary and seeing where the the market is growing and fine-tuning the agency. And I know that that's where you're at, George. I mean, there's so many times I talk to you where you are just telling me the different things that your businesses are going and improving, and And I guess what it is, and I know you do it better than a lot of people I know, is that you are working, on it instead of in it. And I think sometimes we just need to be reminded.
I think you're right. I'd probably
Right?
quit. I'd probably quit if I knew how, but I don't, so I understand. Right. All right, let's recap, okay?
Okay, great. So recap, specialization, it says it's a secret, but when we go with intention that there are 6 departments and that if we don't have them yet, that we need to build them in order to remain relevant into the future, just something we have to get done. Most definitely staff it with maximizers and multipliers. Listen to our previous podcast that we did on the 3M concept, because we went over in great detail what that is. We talked about the 4 phases. So if we identify where we are now and make an immediate goal, if this was something that that you felt would help you, make the goal now of how to get to the next phase, because it will double or triple or quadruple your income. And then we talked about the 6 departments just to get clear on, and then that you can never go wrong with hiring good people.
Well, it's very, very fascinating. You talk about breakthrough departments, breakthrough this and breakthrough that. Well, what he uses that word breakthrough, or you do use that word breakthrough, because of your book, I think, the Breakthrough Agency. I really like that book. I've used it a lot of times, and we're talking about all that stuff from it. If you all would like to see that, get it. You can get it on Amazon. Also, if the elephant sits on you, you're covered. That one too we used on coverages, but that's another story. This breakthrough insurance agency is something that everybody, every agency owner ought to have. Even if you're a bigger one. I suspect that a lot of bigger agencies that just heard this presentation are thinking to themselves, we never really thought about financial services, and I don't believe they have. And I think I like your attitude there, Bart. And for the rest of you, there's the way you can contact him. And Bart responds, and he's got some great people that work for him who will respond, and it's exciting. That little place on the right there is a nice little home that Bart's had. That on the left hand, you're talking about Malibu. I want to see Malibu. That's Malibu. See the ocean out there. What a way of life, huh? Business must be pretty good, Bart, and I know darn well it is, and I'm glad for you. So I appreciate you sharing all this with us, your challenges, and that's what we really need. So what can I say other than, once again, thank you, and let's move towards financial services next time. How's that?
I love that, George, and yeah, I think that's a great idea. Again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and your amazing group of listeners. What do you have now, George? You have over 100,000 people listening to you now?
Yeah, we go out to, well, they don't listen to because they all don't open. I mean, you get about 10% open or something like that, but even so, that's a lot of people. Yeah. So it's fun and it's exciting, and you got to be very careful you don't say the wrong thing to the wrong person.
Yeah, I hear. But anyway, George, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
Okay, talk to you later then. So long.
Bye-bye.